Hello everyone, welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are here to do some transfer news. The transfer window is just a couple of weeks from opening, and we know how big this transfer window is for us. So in this one, we'll be covering two players. We'll be talking about Smith Rowe. We have some great news on Smith Rowe. Literally, when I saw that news, I screamed. I was like, yes! Thank goodness. And we're also going to talk about Declan Rice, a huge transfer for us if it happens. That will be a huge deal for us. We all know how much we need our midfield to improve this season if we're going to challenge in all fronts on all fronts next season. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. And we'll start with Smith Rowe, our boy from Helen. So hopefully he does stay as David Ornstein suggests. So according to David Ornstein, Arsenal have no intention of letting Emile Smith Rowe depart this summer. 22-year-old contracted until 2026, an important part of Arsenal's plans after injury hit campaign. Hope he shines at under 21 Euros and in preseason before the big 2023-2024 season. Literally, I screamed when I saw this piece of news. Smith Rowe is very important in our team. Yes, he had a very disappointing campaign with the injuries, and even the season before this season that just ended, he had a couple of injuries here and there, but we all know how important he is. The time he came into the Arsenal team alongside Saka, they pretty much saved Arsenal. If it wasn't for those two, I don't know where Arsenal would have been right now. They were so important that season. They scored a bunch of goals for us, a bunch of assists. We didn't expect them to have that much of an impact. Obviously, Saka's gone on to almost become like one of the best players in the Premier League pretty much. Smith Rowe's heading into that direction last season. Some people even included him in their teams of the season. But this season it has been quite disappointing with the injuries. You cannot blame him for the injuries, but for the kind of impact he had, and for the kind of player he is, a player who can play in the Martinelli role, a player who can play in the Xhaka role, a player who can play in the Odegaard role as well. We could not afford to sell such kind of a player, especially not for cheap. Remember when he was banging goals for us last season, Aston Villa wanted him and they wanted to pay us 40 million for him. So if now he's not played for almost a full season, if Aston Villa or another team come in for him, they're not going to pay 40 million. They're going to ask to pay like 20 or 25 million. Losing someone like Smith Rowe for that kind of money would be disastrous. So even if it wasn't for money, even if you're being offered 60 million, I wouldn't want to let Smith Rowe go at all. He's that important in our team. A player who can play in 3-4 different roles in the side. And we know his qualities. It's not like we are trying him out for the first time or anything. No. As again, 2 seasons ago, he was scoring in North London derbies. He was scoring very important goals, especially at home. He was very good. He was pretty much our best player in the 2021-2022 season alongside Saka. He was very good in that on that left side. He played in that left side for most of the season. He was actually sharing minutes with Martinelli. That time, we were actually debating who was better. Martinelli, Smith Rowe. Some people are saying start Martinelli. Some people are saying start Smith Rowe. That is how highly Smith Rowe was being thought of at Arsenal. So we cannot just get rid of him. And of course, David Ornstein has also mentioned something about the contract. He only signed his contract just 2 years ago in 2021, and the future looked very bright. And right after signing that contract, he had a wonderful season, 2021-2022. Obviously, as we said, this season he was injured a lot, but he still has his qualities. Yes, he didn't get the chance even when he came back, he didn't get too many chances. But next season we have a lot of competitions. I was trying to go through our midfield yesterday. Obviously, we have Odegaard, Fabio Vieira. Xhaka could be leaving, most likely will be leaving. We still have Partey. There's rumors that Partey could be one of those players who go. So all of a sudden, you need a lot of midfielders. Jorginho, yes. So you need a lot of midfielders. We are talking 2 or 3 extra midfielders. That is if you let Smith Rowe go. So why not just keep Smith Rowe and then you look for 2 midfielders? So that would be a great transfer for me in terms of midfield. According to Charles Watts as well, his opinion on Smith Rowe, this is exactly how it should be. Makes no sense to let ESR go, given what we all know he can produce, providing Arteta is actually going to use him next season. I believe he will. I believe Fabio Vieira, Odegaard, and Smith Rowe will share that role. I also believe Smith Rowe will play in the Xhaka role alongside whoever we sign, and also in the Martinelli role. That is how important he is, depending on how long he stays fit as well next season. But hey, we have a lot of competitions as well, so I'm not worried about him getting game time. You could play Smith Rowe in a league game, and then in that midweek you play Martinelli in the Champions League or vice versa. Doesn't really matter. Unbelievably talented player there with such a high ceiling. He has to be given more chances to show it next season. So I definitely agree with that. You cannot just get rid of a player like that. So I was actually very sad when I started hearing rumors about Smith Rowe and Jack and all these guys leaving. I was like, no, you have to keep some of those talents, especially academy talents. You cannot let go of them on a cheap. You see these other teams, Chelsea able to sell Tammy Abraham for almost 50 million. They will be able to sell Gallagher for 30, 40 million. They're able to sell Mount for 60, 70 million. So why would we get rid of our youngster, a very talented player who's proven himself already in the Premier League for like 20 million or something? That would be a disaster. But again, just as I said, even if they were giving us 50 million or something, I still wouldn't sell Smith Rowe at all. I would not sell Smith Rowe at all for sure. In the article that David Ornstein wrote, Smith Rowe's quality is evident to all who have watched him. He was the club's second top scorer in the 2021-2022 season with 11 goals in all competitions and spearheaded the resurgence after a tough opening 3 games. Exactly. He was our second top scorer last season. So I don't think he would lose his quality within a year. And I don't think we've watched Smith Rowe, maybe a couple of games, but apart from that, I don't think we've watched him and be like, nah, he's not good enough, sell him. It's just because of the injuries. And so injuries is something you can get over. Remember Martinelli? He was injured for a full year, but he came back, and look at him now. He only got injured like in the 37th game of the season. Like, he can play for you in a lot of games. He's very fit these days. So you cannot really give up on players after big injuries. Sometimes, or at least half of the times, or 60% of the times, they usually come back and make an impact. He also goes on to say, before that, his inclusion in the starting 11 against Chelsea on Boxing Day 2020 was the catalyst for Arsenal's fortunes changing that year. It was a tough year that season. Signed to a 5-year contract and given the number 10 shirt. That's another thing. We gave Saka a higher shirt as well. We gave Martinelli a higher shirt, and Smith Rowe was one of those players to get a higher shirt as well, alongside Nketiah too. So number 10 for Smith Rowe, you can just get rid of him. That is a very, very good number. That's like the likes of Messi's number. So you can't just get rid of him. There's a reason we gave him that number, because we believed he's good enough. We believed that he was going to make an impact at Arsenal. So that's another point. He also says, in 2021, he has been a figurehead for this young side alongside Bukayo Saka. The hope is he will be a key player for England's under-21 European Championship later this summer before returning for pre-season. Smith Rowe played only 195 minutes in all competitions for Arsenal in 14 appearances, coming as a sub. So yeah, he was injured for pretty much the whole season. But when he's fit, we know his qualities. Like, if you just need a reminder, go search on YouTube and search for Emile Smith Rowe 2021, 2022. He has, did I say 2022? That year does not exist. 2022, that's like a million years from now or something. He was the second half substitute and provided an assist as Arsenal closed out in a 5-0 win against Wolves. Obviously, goes on to Arsenal finish second. So if you have players like Smith Rowe missed out, so pretty much, basically, we finished second. We are top of the table for almost the entire season without our second top scorer from last season. So that shows you, like, what if you have Smith Rowe in this team? What if you have all the players that are injured, the likes of Tommy Asu and the likes of Saliba? That would be great. The 2020, why do I keep on saying 2022? Which year is that? The 22-year-old missed the first half of the campaign after undergoing a surgery in September. And despite a growing focus on the incoming business, Arsenal will do this summer in recent weeks. Arteta's repeatedly mentioned wanting to improve the players already at his disposal. So, yes, for sure. You can sign a lot of players. You can sign great players, great quality, but you also have to keep the ones who have already proved themselves in your team. The likes of Saka, the likes of Smith Rowe, the likes of Martinelli. You can't just get Declan Rice and then you get rid of Martinelli and Saka. No, you have to keep the players who have already proven themselves. So it's a good article on the Athletic by David Ornstein. Hopefully he does stay. David Ornstein is one of those ones that whenever he says something, at least 90% of the times it's correct. So hopefully Emile Smith Rowe ends up staying. As I said, I literally screamed when I heard that he was going to stay. So that's the latest on Smith Rowe. But it's still not enough in midfield. We still need more to help Odegaard, to help Smith Rowe, and to help all those guys, the likes of Partey and the rest, all of them. We need someone else. So will it be Declan Rice? What's the latest on Declan Rice? This would be a massive deal. You know, he's being targeted by teams like Chelsea and Man United and Bayern Munich and all these guys. So I would be devastated if you let Declan Rice join a Manchester United, because I know how much he'd improve their midfield. Like if they have Bruno Fernandes, Declan Rice, and Casemiro, all of a sudden their midfield is way better. The past season, I think only Man City could have matched up to us in terms of midfield. There's a time like between August and February, March, Partey, Odegaard, and Xhaka were the best midfield in the Premier League, midfield trio. Yes, you can say Rodri, De Bruyne, and Gundogan, and whoever else was playing there. But apart from that, every other team, I think we had a better midfield last season. We were on that level of when Liverpool had Fabinho and Wijnaldum and all those guys. Xhaka was contributing. Odegaard is contributing a lot. Partey is playing absolutely well, keeping fit as well. So Declan Rice is one of those players who would definitely make an impact. So in terms of the news, according to Ryan Taylor, Arsenal are expected to launch a club record bid worth up to £90 million. That would be crazy. But if you can get him for less than 100 million, I'd be over the moon. In the coming weeks for West Ham captain Declan Rice, who has emerged as Mikel Arteta's top transfer target this summer. If you're being asked for like 140 million, 150 million, I'd be like, yeah, that is a bit too much. But 90 million, 100 million, I think that is worth it. These days, the transfer market has changed. Back in the day, we could get Cazorla for 20 million. Real Madrid could get Zidane for like 30 million, but the market has changed. These days, Mudryk is going to Chelsea for 100 and something million. Antony is going to Man United for 90 million. Sanchez is going to Man United for 70. Players like Grealish are going to Man City for 100. So the market has changed. You have to pay money for these good players. They are good for a reason. And if I show you stats, it's absolutely incredible. Interceptions. If there's a stat that I love about in football is interceptions, because that is the difference between you being in a defensive position and being in attack. If you can get someone who can intercept the ball in midfield without having to pick up yellow cards and making tackles, someone who can intercept the ball when the other team is attacking and all of a sudden you're counter-attacking the other team, Declan Rice is that guy. Look at these stats from last season in terms of interceptions. Declan Rice had the most interceptions in the league. 92. Now, this season we improved a lot from the previous season in terms of taking shots and especially putting teams under the cosh at our place. We were dominating a lot of teams at our place. We were taking shot after shot after shot, sometimes even got 25, 26 shots in a game. That is good. Now, if you have Declan Rice in your team, you can easily get 30 shots in the game because you'll intercept it, and the likes of Odegaard and Martinelli will absolutely enjoy the service from Declan Rice in midfield. On top of that, if you have Declan Rice and Thomas Partey there, absolutely amazing. So that is that's a very, very great start. And by the way, just as a side note, look at number 2, Moises Caicedo. So imagine if you get Caicedo in our midfield, both of them, you're going to win the league. Like if you get both of them, they are top 2 in terms of interceptions. You've absolutely improved your midfield to compete with the teams that is above us. So that's not the only stat. Interceptions and tackles put together. Look at this. Palhinha has 193, Caicedo has 156, and Declan Rice has a very respectable 141 interceptions and tackles put together. And he's a player who can take penalties. He's a player who can take free kicks. He's a player who can go forward. I think I've seen him taking free kick corner, as well for West Ham. He can go forward. He can intercept the ball and carry the ball for you. He doesn't literally have to, there's some midfielders who are just there to combat, just make a tackle, pass the ball, make a tackle, pass the ball. I remember Real Madrid's president back in the day, back in the early 2000s, his name has disappeared. He actually sold Makelele and said Makelele is one of those players who's just going to intercept, but after that, he cannot do anything else. He's just going to pass on the side or something like that. No, not Rice. Rice can intercept the ball. If he doesn't have a right pass to make, he can push the ball forward. He can go with the ball forward. He can look for someone to pass the ball. He can push the ball forward and maybe even take a shot. I've seen him scoring from outside the box plenty of times, especially this season. So absolutely amazing. And also one thing that I didn't read from that, only one of them didn't make a single error leading to a shot, Declan Rice. And speaking of interceptions, by the way, where did he make an interception that I remember? Against Arsenal, against Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey literally lost the ball to Declan Rice, and that is the goal that got them back to the game where we ended up drawing with West Ham 2-2. So, but as we said, he's a very quality player. It's not just Arsenal that want him. If you take a look at this, Chelsea also like Declan Rice. Obviously, he used to play there. He's best friends with Mason Mount. He used to be at Chelsea, but there's an expectation that the West Ham captain will join Arsenal, according to Jacob Steinberg. Now, the benefit of that, I think in terms of money and all that, Chelsea can splash more money than us, but we are in Champions League, man. Dilly ding, dilly dong. That's why we wanted Champions League. why do Arsenal fans think top four is important? That is not the pinnacle of sport. Pinnacle of sport is all about trophies. We know that. But as a step to go forward, you have to be in the Champions League football. The likes of Vlahovic did not come to Arsenal because we're not in the Champions League football. But Declan Rice, this kind of players can join us instead of Chelsea because we're in Champions League football and Chelsea are not in a European competition. Tottenham as well, Liverpool as well. So we've put ourselves in a very, very good position. The only teams that maybe can compete with us are Man United and Man City and Newcastle. And Man United also want Caicedo and they want other midfielders as well. And Chelsea, anyway, they want other midfielders as well from Sporting. So that is a very, very good thing for us. And as I said, it's not just the Premier League teams that want him. Bayern Munich are also willing to pay 100 million for him. But according to other journalists and according to my feeling, I feel like he'd want to stay in England. I don't think he'd want to go and test himself out in the Bundesliga or La Liga yet. Maybe in the future. But as of now, I believe he'd want to stay in England, join an Arsenal, join a Man United in the Premier League. Hopefully, Arsenal. So this is a transfer I'd absolutely love to happen. Arteta's main target for this season. If you get Declan Rice, on top of that, Partey is there, Odegaard is there, you keep Smith Rowe in the team, you get an improved Fabio Vieira, you get the experience of Jorginho, and you throw in like a Caicedo or Gundogan in there as well. Absolutely amazing for the midfield. You can go and play Odegaard, Partey and Rice in the Premier League, and in the Champions League, you can rest Rice. You start Declan Rice, Caicedo, and Smith Rowe. You can bring in Jorginho when needed, especially in the home games. He can control. Even in the away games, there's rumors about Jorginho being slow, not being able to play in some games. I mean, he's come on this season and he's played well in all those games, Aston Villa away and Chelsea at home. So he's played well in all those games against the likes of N'Golo Kante. So hopefully we can get Declan Rice. 90 million bid for him. Arsenal are going to keep Smith Rowe. Absolutely good news for one day. Absolutely good news for one day. Let me know what you think about the Declan Rice potential deal. Would you want him together with Caicedo? I pretty much think so. Would you pay 200 million for both of them, like 90 and 90 or 100 and 100? Do you think it's worth it to just get two players and a couple of others, or do you think we should mix it up to get Declan Rice and then mix it up in other positions? Another thing I forgot to mention about Smith Rowe, if we keep Smith Rowe, you can sort out the more defensive areas in midfield instead of the attacking areas. So it saves you a lot of money. We'll be back with more transfer news tomorrow. We will do a keep or sell video tomorrow, keep sell alone video tomorrow, live stream. So it's very interesting to see who we are going to keep. Smith Rowe is definitely in the keep list. Even before I saw this news, absolutely amazing news. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.